Good evening, everyone. It is September 19th, 7 o'clock p.m., September 19th, 2022. I'm Julius D. J.D. Spain Sr., President of NAACP Arlington Branch, and I want to welcome each and every one of you back to our branch meetings. We took the month of August off, much needed break, health and welfare break for most everyone here. And I'm just happy to be back in this space so we can conduct the business of the NAACP. With that being said, each of you who have registered should have already received a copy of all the documents that will be shared electronically, to include the agenda and a few other items as we prepare at the bottom of the hour to hear from Mr. Bradley Haywood, the Chief Public Defender at the Office of Public Defender for Arlington County and the City of Falls Church. Okay, let's open it up with prayer. I see we have Sister Dunkley and also our chair. If you would like to open it up for prayer, we really appreciate that.
Well, good evening, everyone. What a blessing it is to be here. Miss Dunkley, I will yield to you.
All right.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, once more again, God, we come to say thank you, Lord. Thank you for another day, God. Thank you for keeping us from all hurt, harm, or danger, God. Oh, God, as we come on tonight, Father God, to talk about, discuss, and agree in the things that we need to agree on tonight, God. We ask, Father, that you will be in the midst of it all, Father God. Bless our presidents and the vice presidents, God, all over. This is my prayer. In Jesus' name I do pray. Amen.
Amen. It is, so you have your agenda, and let me go here to our first part. Let's do a roll call of officers, Madam Secretary. I think we just got out of a special call meeting, so someone probably will be here shortly, but go ahead, Madam Secretary. I'm here.
Okay. First Vice President, Kent Carter. Kent Carter. Second Vice President, Sharice Kearns. Sharice Kearns. Third Vice President, Michael Heminger.
Present.
Treasurer, Roy Austin.
Present.
Assistant Treasurer, Adriana Spain. Adriana Spain. Secretary Wanda Younger, present. Assistant Secretary Laurel Langhorne.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large, Karen Nightingale. Karen Nightingale. Executive Committee at Large, James Younger. James Younger. Executive Committee at Large, Simone Walker. Simone Walker. Communications, Leah Matterall. Criminal Justice, Heather Kelly.
She's in court right now.
Economic Development and Labor, Megan Brew.
Present.
Economic Development and Labor, Maya Jones. Environmental and Climate Justice, Kenyatta Clemens. Environmental and Climate Justice, Ron Haddocks. Housing, Brian Coleman.
Present.
Political Action, Jamie Abrams. Religious Affairs, Pastor Davis is present. Religious Affairs, Ms. Dunkley is present. Scholarship, Adora Williams. Adora Williams, and I see James Younger and Kent Carter have joined the call.
And Jamie Abrams have joined the call as well.
Okay, thank you.
Secretary Heather Kelly is here for criminal justice as well.
Thank you.
All right, let us go with, let me get our poll up here so we can suspend the, so every meeting, there's a typical order of business that we have, but I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. We're going to vote to suspend the normal rules for agenda September 19th, 2022, which you should all have received. So this is being launched. You should see it on your screens. You can go ahead and vote. We're going to give it about 10 more seconds. Okay, going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. You should be able to see those results of the poll. Thank each and every one of you while we capture this. All right. Financial report. Mr. Treasurer, are you prepared or ready for your financial report? Let me grab something here. All right, here we go. Mr. Treasurer, go ahead.
Okay, good evening. Your financial report for the month of July 2022 is as follows. Our business savings account. The beginning balance was $356,841.39. There was no activity in that account, so the ending balance is again $356,841.39. In our business checking account, the beginning balance was $26,843.85. Deposits totaled $60. Withdrawals, $659.20, with an ending balance of $26,244.65. The combined total in the account at the end of July is $383,086.04. That is the end of this report.
Address the budget at all. Well, this was shared, right, Mr. Treasurer?
I did send it out.
Okay, all right. All right. You've heard the reading of presentation of the Treasury report coming from our treasurer. Any questions? Any questions? All right, no questions. I am going to order it filed and turned over to the audit committee. We will be having an audit coming up here shortly. Roy, get my video going back here. Get you off. All right. Next in your agenda, let me change something here for Roy. Roy, you can turn your video back on. The next part of the agenda is a few remarks that I need to make because as every president, when it comes to this time, we need to be clear and concise to all of our members. Again, you should have received in your, those that registered prior to 6 p.m., I think, Madam Secretary, this email went out with the agenda. And so you'll see where it talks about NAACP Arlington branch elections. There's a hyperlink on the agenda that will take you to a presentation that was made by National NAACP, I think about a week and a half ago. I attended that presentation, and what it does is it talks about the process of elections at a branch of the NAACP from beginning to end. And there's a few things I want to highlight, right? And then there's a few things we're going to vote on here tonight. Some folks have, thank you to everyone who's put their name in the hat to serve on the nomination committee, but I just want everyone to be clear on what's going on. So this year, the NAACP Arlington branch, as well as every branch of the NAACP, elections will be conducted by the national office. That meaning we at the local level will not be conducting our elections. They will be using a platform called Election Buddy. All right. Again, that link to the election process and how it's going to be conducted is inserted in tonight's agenda. And there will be some follow-up emails that will be sent to all members. To run for office in the branch of any branch of the NAACP, you must be a member in good standing no later than May 1st of 2022. That means this past May, you must have been in good standing with the NAACP. All candidates for office must live and or work in the jurisdiction of the branch. That's Arlington branch. And your membership must remain continuous throughout the date of elections, which will be in November of this year. What that means is you have to be active on May 1st, and you cannot have had any break in membership after May 1st through November when the elections are conducted, okay? This is all explained by National NAACP as well in the video, and it's about 45 minutes. Members need a valid email to receive a ballot. It is critically important. It is critically important that your email is correct in the Salesforce program. You're probably saying, well, Spain, I don't have access to the Salesforce program. Whatever email you use upon sign up, if you receive emails from National right now, don't worry about it. You're good. That means it is correct. But if you're not receiving emails from National, or you want to check that and validate and verify, please reach out to the secretary to ensure your email is correct. Why do I say that? Because what's going to happen is in November, that fourth Thursday, I believe, we got the date coming up, there's going to be a 4-hour block that National NAACP is going to send an electronic ballot to everyone who's a member of NAACP Arlington branch. They will click a button and everyone will receive electronic ballot. You will have a 4-hour window to make your selection for elections. If your email is not right in Salesforce, you will not receive a ballot. The secretary can't fix it at the local level. The state conference can't fix it at the state level. This is a national ran election. And there's a number of reasons why they're doing that I'm really don't need to get into that with you about. Let's just say it's transparency and accountability and make sure everyone who's an active member of the NAACP is getting a ballot and has an opportunity to vote. If for some odd reason or another, you don't have an email, or you need to get your ballot in another way, on your phone or something, please contact the secretary as soon as possible so we can work that out, okay? This is the other thing. So the date, we typically have our elections in November. Our date for election, upon your approval, it has to be either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. We have a 3-day window for 4 hours. Ours is going to be Thursday, November 17th, 2022, from 5 to 9 p.m. Thursday, November 17th, 2022, from 5 to 9 p.m. And you will get a ballot during that window. Also, those candidates, anyone who wants to run for office at our next meeting in October, each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak at our October 17th meeting. If they want to, they don't have to the general membership as to why they want to run for office and why you should select them. Okay. The other thing is we are at this meeting to have a nomination committee elected by the general membership and made up of volunteers. We sent out emails. There's been a number of folks who have said that they would like to serve on the nomination committee. The nomination committee individuals are individuals who are not part of the executive committee, not in position and not elected to this branch. So they have to be neutral, but they have to have active memberships. Those 5 individuals that have volunteered and said they would do that is Brendan Meehan. He's a Silver Life member. He did this 2 years ago. Juliet Hisney, who's a life member. Kashawn Clark volunteered. Tanya Talento did this a few years ago. And Jordanas Wodali. They are all members. I think the secretary validated that, verified that, in good standing. But those individuals have to be also elected by, elected by the membership. Is there anyone on this call who would like to serve on the nominations committee? Is there anyone on this call that would like to serve on the nomination committee? It's a minimum of 5. And we can go is up, I think, what is it, Madam Secretary,
15.
15 on the nomination committee. So if you want to volunteer and see how the process works, put your name in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to launch a few polls here in a second, and you're going to vote. All right. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is the fact that next month, the Virginia State Conference of the NAACP will be having our 87th Virginia State Conference meeting on October 21st through October 23rd. We solicited input, we solicited individuals on our exec committee, members who wanted to serve as delegates. And as of today, we have the following individuals who would like to serve as delegates. Myself as the president, a delegate, third VP Michael Heminger, James Younger, Brian Coleman, Pastor Delisha Davis, and Wanda Younger. This is not going to be on a poll. Is there anyone here who would like to serve as an alternate? I'm going to give anyone on this call an opportunity to serve as an alternate. The 6 delegate positions have been taken. Anybody want to serve as an alternate? If so, just come off mute. Who's that? Kenya? Brian? Madam Secretary, can you see those names in the chat?
I do.
Okay. So Brian and Kenya, before we close out the meeting tonight, if you stick around, the secretary will validate your membership.
JD, I believe they were raised their hands to serve on the nominating committee.
I'm sorry.
Not as alternates.
Thank you. Brian and Kenya, is that you want to serve on the nomination committee?
Yes, please. And
Okay.
hello.
Brian Atkins, do you do as well? Okay, thank you. So Madam Secretary will verify your memberships, and then we will have a vote shortly, okay? As long as your memberships are good, there's no problem with that, and the membership has to vote on that. Anyone want to serve as alternates? Any additional folks to serve as alternates for the Virginia State Conference virtual conference? I didn't see any names. Okay. Also, I want to bring to your attention that we now have new committee and officer emails, which are posted on the NAACP Arlington branch website. We have been working hard, your executive committee, secretary and assistant secretary, over the past several months. We've talked about this years ago, to moving away from using our personal emails to conduct NAACP business. You got to know I've been torn on that for a number of years because I just got tired of using my own email because we already get beat up with a lot of emails. But look, we are there now. So effective immediately, if you need to correspond with anyone to the NAACP and leadership, our emails are listed on our website. We've sent out a distribution to everyone who's joined this call at least twice. Do your best to correspond back and forth using our new email addresses. Why? Because we will be establishing some level of having a repository as well. And it's just good business practices. All right. I've also, just to get in my soapbox, I've challenged the county government because we've also had, many of you have sat on commissions. All commissioners don't have their personal, they don't have commission emails. Not all of them. And they're out there using their personal email to conduct county business. We got to get past that too, but that's a whole nother thing. All right, so those are our officer emails, new committee emails. Any questions? All right. Finally, I just want to bring to your attention that we will be having, the exec committee considered the date, our Freedom Fund Banquet Awards program this year will be virtual. Again, it was pretty successful last year. We will be held on Wednesday, December 14th. And again, that's Wednesday, December 14th, 2022 from 7 to 9 p.m. More details to follow. We have a few invites out to guest speakers waiting on their reply. And once we lock in someone, we will let you know, but save the date. December 14th. It's a Wednesday, middle of the week, 7 to 9 p.m. And those of you that attended last year, you know we had a really good time. As far as Freedom Fund and cost, it was about $25 a piece to have a, again, a really good time. And I think we brought in about $14,000 in revenue. And that was really good. And it's only because of you and other sponsors that we had to make that Freedom Fund a success. And as many of you know, a large part, a lot of that money goes to some of our operating expenses, but also goes into our scholarship program so we can give award scholarships out to our students here in APS in Arlington. All right. Before we go to the voting and we bring up each one of these, Madam Secretary, you've had a chance to verify those two names at all?
Yes, they're both active.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, great. All right. So let me launch a few things. Any questions before we get into poll launching? It'll be one poll at a time. Let me stop this one. Okay. I'm going to launch a poll here. I'm going to amend this because it's not added here, Madam Secretary. The two additional names, Kenya Pittington and Brian Atkins, to be included. So I'm going to launch this poll right now. You vote either yay, nay, or abstain. This will include Kenya Pittington and Brian Atkins. We have 3 people we're waiting on. Okay, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. I'm going to end the poll, share the results. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Madam Secretary, are you capturing this on screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And that includes Kenya Pennington and Brian Atkins. All right, stop sharing. We have another poll. The date of election. Election date at the NAACP Arlington branch will be Thursday, November 17th, between 5 and 9 p.m. This date is what we will return back to national NAACP elections. Yay, nay, or abstain. We're at 95%. Give you about 5 more seconds. All right, I'm going to end the poll. Share the results. Madam Secretary, can you see that and capture it?
Yes.
Okay. Right. The next thing, okay, the next portion we have in the past, well, since I've been here, the NAACP, these are the elected positions for 2022, excuse me, from January 1st, 2023 through 31 December 2024. The president, first vice president, second vice president, third vice president, treasurer, assistant treasurer, secretary, assistant secretary, and 3 executive committee at-large members. I'm voting this. You will vote on this. These will be the positions that will be up for elections. It's the same vote we have now. I will share with you while you're taking that poll that there's some branches don't even have a first vice president. So we're in a pretty good situation. Go ahead, Simone, you have a question.
Yes, I know you said National is running the elections. are they going to like, are they just doing the mechanics of it, or are they going to ensure there are no conflicts of interest with officers in terms of other roles they might have or who they might be related to, et cetera?
Give me, what do you mean other, they're only doing the mechanics. What conflict of interest are you talking about?
In general,
They're
right?
not-
When you have
they're-
officers, when you have officers of an organization, just to ensure that they can act with fiduciary responsibility to the NAACP and not have other competing, conflicting positions in other organizations, or that you don't have too much nepotism going on the executive committee.
That is incumbent upon, no, National will not do that. That is up to the exec committee of the branch to one, identify and make sure that, to what you just stated, all of what you just said is not going on. And the executive committee feels that there's a member of the exec committee that cannot discharge their duties in accordance with the NAACP, then that exec committee is to take upon themselves a meeting to either remove or call to question the role that which that person is in. So again, the NAACP National will not go will not go down to the branch level and ask those level of questions. That is on the regional VP, the incoming administration, executive committee, the state conference to monitor branches to make sure nothing to that effect is going on. I will tell you though, that in the past, even in Virginia, we've had people in the House of Delegates who are presidents of their branches and served in the House of Delegates. And I think, their exec committee felt that they could do both jobs harmoniously. I don't know if that's the case, but again, it falls on exec committee, Simone, to make that decision.
But what if, okay, we can talk about this in the next
All
executive.
right, thank you. All right, Michelle, the results. Madam Secretary, can you capture that?
Yes.
All right. Good. All right, those dates will be shared with National NAACP as far as the elections. Now, the nomination committee, the president, I'm not, I'll share this with all of you. I'm not, nor anybody on the exec committee are to have any dealings with the nomination committee. If members of the current exec committee decide to run for the office of president, they can have a representative that they identify, be part or monitor or be in the meetings of the nomination committee. All of that is laid out in the 2022 election procedures manual. If you would like a copy of that, please contact the secretary. We can make sure you get a copy of it, right? What is supposed to happen within 10 days of today, the secretary of this branch is supposed to call a meeting of the nomination committee, to wit, a chair of that nomination committee, and a secretary will be identified. Those individuals with the nomination committee will take it upon themselves to gather all the nomination forms and verify with the secretary that memberships are in fact correct, and that all members that attest to nomination packages, has to be at least 3, are in good standing. The nomination committee at our October meeting will come back and make a report to all individuals who are running, to the membership of all members that are running for elected office. At our November meeting, well, we will not have elections because National is doing it. And November 17th, National will conduct elections, okay? I have a few minutes. I only have 2 minutes left. Any questions about that? Just to let everybody know, I will not be running for re-election, so don't worry. Any questions? All right, that being said, it is my great pleasure and honor. Yeah, right, Mike. 10 years under my belt. Y'all can do this. But I'm not going anywhere. NAACP is in my heart. Gold Life member, by the way, sir. It gives me great pleasure to bring before you a gentleman who's been working hard in our community for a number of years. Let me go and spotlight the beardy guy who I know quite well, Mr. Brad Haywood. Brad serves as the Chief Public Defender at the Office of the Public Defender for Arlington County and the City of Falls Church. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, JD. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, Good night, Simone. So it is, this is your time. I think we had you about a year ago to come by, and a lot has gone on, but we want to afford you the opportunity, like we've done in the past, and to a lot of our constitutional officers and people in position of authority and policymakers, for you to come on and tell us what's been going on in your office. How can the NAACP help aid and assist you to be successful, and what we should be looking forward to in the future. All right. So without any further ado, good night, Cherie. I'm gonna turn the floor over to you.
Thanks a lot. Really a pleasure and an honor to be here. Arlington, our local advocacy community on a lot of fronts, has changed so much over the past several years. And I think the Arlington chapter of the NAACP has been leading the way in that regard. It's really amazing to see how the branch has grown and the impact it's having on so many issues, including the issue that I work most on, which is criminal justice reform and indigent defense. So that is what I do. I actually have kind of two jobs. I'm the chief public defender for Arlington County and the city of Falls Church. And I also am the founder and executive director of Justice Forward Virginia, which is a criminal justice reform advocacy group that mostly works at a statewide level. So I wanted to come by, I offered to come by after listening to Parissa Tafte's presentation a couple months ago, and enjoyed that presentation. I think she did a good job. However, I also am struck right now at the conversation, sort of the dialogue, national and local, regarding criminal justice issues. I think some of you may have read or seen that the Republican Party has decided that crime is going to be what they're going to emphasize both during the midterms, and it's expected that they're going to also focus on it in next year's statewide elections. And I imagine that's also going to bleed over into local elections because there is a Commonwealth Attorney election next year as well. And the fact of the matter is they're able to do this. The groups that oppose criminal justice reform are able to exploit these national dialogues and run on these things because there's just a very prevalent misinformation sort of dominates this sphere. And it's the fault of a lot of folks, including the media, including political parties. I think there's just, we had 18 months after George Floyd died where Democrats and some Republicans were committed to doing criminal justice reform, and then everybody just seemed to get tired of it. And now everybody's content to just let misinformation dominate. And you notice it, for example, I'll give you an example that you probably hear a lot about. You're hearing it a lot from Republicans in particular right now. It's just the whole defunding thing. They're accusing everyone of being a defunder, including people like Abigail Spanberger, who was literally a cop before she ran for office. And it's gotten to an absurd level. The truth of the matter of something like defunding, first of all, it's completely misrepresented what that actually means. But in addition, there isn't a single police department, either on the federal level or state level, that actually has had their funding cut. In fact, funding has risen pretty much everywhere. Another one that you hear about a lot is things related to like the opioid epidemic or fentanyl epidemic and immigration. They're always talking about how this drug is getting in through the southern border. You hear that all the time. The fact is almost all fentanyl is coming in through the country through legal immigration. And that's because the drug is incredibly powerful and incredibly potent. If you have 1 kilogram of it, that 1 kilogram is enough to kill 500,000 people. I'm not joking. So imagine that. Imagine a drug war that thinks they can keep small little bricks of fentanyl out every day of the year when millions of people are crossing the borders and coming in on airplanes and things of that nature. So there's just a total lack, and really right down to things like the crime rates. People talk about there's this crime wave right now. Our crime rates, especially in Arlington, still are near historic lows. They've barely ticked up at all. They have ticked up in one category, and it is really worrisome, and that is gun violence. But obviously, that is when you only have crime increasing in one area, really, you got to look for different causes than the usual suspects that the media and reform opponents tend to point at. So the reason I'm talking about this is because I know what happens when people aren't informed, and when our elected officials aren't informed, when community advocates aren't informed, and because I've seen it, and I've seen it recently. Some of you may have heard about this. The earned sentence credit bill that was passed by the Virginia General Assembly 2 years ago, and it basically allowed people who remained of perfect behavior in the Department of Corrections, people who were sentenced to prison, if they remained in perfect behavior while they're in prison, and if they did all the programs that were required of them, they could get just a little bit extra good time credit. This summer, led by Jason Miyares and Governor Youngkin, there was a legislative effort done through the budget, which is, it's happened before, but it's really rare. And it essentially repealed that law that a whole lot of people were relying on. These are people who were told they're getting out of prison. They actually received letters that said, you qualify for this new earned sentence credit bill. You're going to be getting out, on July 1st or July 15th or whenever it was. These people did release planning with their families, with DOC inmate counselors and probation officers. They bought plane tickets, to go reunite with their family. Families arranged for like coming home parties. People paid rent. They got jobs. They paid tuition. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, literally 2 weeks before a whole slew of these folks were about to get out of prison, because they had perfect behavior, because they'd done all their programs, the rug was pulled out from under them. And it was mainly because of misinformation about what the impact was of that bill. And for just to give you a little more specifics on that, essentially what folks like Miyares and Youngkin were saying was, oh, you're letting out all these people who've committed murder and rape. People actually who had those convictions represented fewer than 2% of the individuals who qualified for additional earned sentence credits. And the additional earned sentence credits didn't actually even apply to any of those violent sentences. They only applied to additional nonviolent sentences. So this is the kind of thing that can happen. In addition, earlier this year, the General Assembly repealed portions of a historic bill that actually my organization wrote, limiting pretextual policing, which is colloquially known as driving while black. It's basically what police are allowed to do according to the Constitution, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, which is use pretext and like cover stories, basically, to pull over someone, even if it's just solely based on implicit or explicit bias. If they come up with an objective reason, like a cover story, like like a dangling object hanging from their rear view mirror, their brake lights out, something like that. They pull them over so they can try to coerce consent to search the vehicle. Well, earlier this year, with some Democratic support, there was a part of that bill was repealed. And again, it was repealed based on misinformation that was communicated to delegates and senators. So this is all I know at more of a state level and a national level. But the reason I'm bringing it up now is because there is going to be a Commonwealth Attorney's election next year. And those of you may recall 3 years ago, it put criminal justice reform locally with people who are civic minded completely on the map, and everybody was tuned in. And quite frankly, there was a battle during that campaign over who was telling the truth. And there was just a tidal wave of misinformation that was coming from certain corners. And it is really hard with local criminal justice, and especially things like what we call so-called progressive prosecutors or reform prosecutors. It's really difficult to learn the truth about what's going on in a local criminal justice system or a local criminal courthouse. And that's because for a number of reasons, but the central dynamic that you have going on is that you have anti-reform groups or stakeholder groups. I think in Arlington, it's some of the media, some of the local media, it's no secret, and also the local police. They want you to think that nothing at all is going right, that it's an abomination, that it's causing crime rates to spike. On the other hand, you have elected officials like the Commonwealth Attorney who want you to think everything is going right. And then you have folks like myself, criminal justice reform advocates or defense attorneys. First of all, people usually don't pay attention to what we say, but even when they do, we get afraid that if we speak up one way or the other, if we criticize the progressive Commonwealth Attorney for maybe not achieving all of their goals, that that person's going to be replaced with someone who just represents the old guard, the former status quo, and we don't want that to happen. So as a result, you really don't have anybody just telling it like it is. And that is, I think, critical at this juncture as we enter a new election cycle. And there's just going to be a deluge of information, some of it accurate, some of it inaccurate. So that's mainly what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I'll get through this quickly and then open it up for questions. But just to, first of all, get our bearings, I think it's important to remember as folks in Arlington County remember where we were 3 years ago as a local criminal justice system. And I am focusing on the Commonwealth's attorney because, quite frankly, they even now, with so many obstacles being placed in front of reform, the Commonwealth's attorney still is truly the most powerful individual actor in a local system of justice. And 3 years ago, under the former regime, we, without question, and this is not exaggerating, we had the most punitive, least forgiving Commonwealth's Attorney's Office in Northern Virginia. And that includes Loudoun County, and it includes Prince William County. It wasn't even close, and the data bore that out. In fact, the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office here was one of the harshest in the state. We often talked about the racial disparities that you saw in prosecutions, things like pot prosecutions. You all know that 9% of Arlington County Black residents, over 60% of the people arrested for pot possession were Black. In addition, more than 50% of the people who are arrested for most misdemeanors, which, by the way, misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies represent 98% of the arrests in Arlington. We have very little violent crime, and about 80% of the arrests are for misdemeanors. And for most misdemeanors, more than 50% of the people arrested are Black. Or were Black. The former Commonwealth's attorney also massively overcharged felony offenses, and they did that as a way of coercing guilty pleas. And honestly, I think the result was it ruined a lot of lives, and it was even worse than was portrayed during by some of the campaign trying to oust the former regime. So what's happened since then? And this is, again, kind of what prompted me to reach out to JD and ask to speak. Things have definitely improved. And I think we have to be honest about that. It has actually improved significantly. First of all, there was an effort that was made by the Commonwealth's attorney, even before marijuana was legalized, to drop marijuana charges. That the circuit court in Arlington stood in the way of that, but quite quickly that issue was sort of mooted because pot became legal. We also now have a behavioral health docket that operates. It's a pre-plea behavioral health docket, meaning that people who need those services can access them without pleading guilty and giving up their right to a trial. And it's working really well. Actually, we're pretty happy about it. We were skeptical as an office, but we're pretty happy about how it's been going. We also have new GDC judges. 2 of the 3 are new judges. Both have a defense background. One of them is a former public defender. They are on board, and I think with reform, and they want to have a more humane, more restorative process than we've had in the past in Arlington. There are now fewer aggressive prosecutions of people who are charged with drug possession or have serious mental illness. The new Commonwealth's attorney, or Paris's office, over the past 2.5 years, they don't ask for cash bail. That's true. They haven't been doing that. They're more reasonable about things like property crimes. Fewer are being indicted as felonies. Overcharged, I would say, as felonies, because it's so easy to overcharge property offenses in Virginia. And their office is always open to a humane approach in cases that don't involve violence. So a sort of restorative approaches, emphasizing alternatives to incarceration, and including things like restorative justice. So that program has taken a while to organize, but it's off the ground. And so we have a lot of these things that are successes. And, like I said, in a county where most of the arrests are for nonviolent offenses, if that's the approach they're taking, well, it's making a pretty significant impact. And I think we can't overlook that. And also, I think it's worth noting that Paris's office, things have been better with them, with this progressive prosecution movement, than others that have been attempting the same thing. If you've been following the news at all, we have people who claim to be progressives all over the country, but we have 5 of them in Northern Virginia. And honestly, compared to the others, like the Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney in Loudoun County and Prince William, Paris is delivering on her promises quite a bit more, and I think has had far fewer management issues than have some of the other offices. And in fact, a couple of them are not progressive at all, and are arguably even more punitive than their predecessors. Ironically, Loudoun is one of them. I say ironically because I think a lot of you know Buddha Vivrai is targeted by Youngkin and Jason Miyares a lot for criticism, as if like things have been reformed massively. If you talk to the defense bar out there, they just roll their eyes. They're like, nothing really has changed. If anything, given the staff there. They're very aggressive prosecutors who really haven't reformed much at all. There is this perception, though, that because promises were made, and I think I was somebody who actually bought into a lot of this, that promises were made regarding overhauling a local system of justice, that a prosecutor actually had that ability to totally overhaul a local system of justice. And because the only criticism that the Commonwealth Attorney in Arlington gets is from police and some of the local media, there's this perception that, oh, we've done all this reform stuff, like it's all happened, we're doing great now, everything is just fine. And that is just not true. First of all, on a broader level, we still in the United States have a massive mass incarceration problem, and we still contribute to it in Arlington. We have, as many of you know, the United States, we have 5% of the world's population. We have nearly 25% of the world's prison population. We spend more on police and prisons in the United States than all but 2 countries spend on their militaries, and just on police, than all but 2 countries spend on their militaries, and one of those countries is the United States. And of course, we still have pretty high rates of violent crime as compared to other industrialized nations. Locally, however, and I think this is the part where I have some particular insight, is we have still massive obstacles to making our system truly more humane, more evidence informed, and promoting the kinds of humane, restorative, rehabilitative outcomes that we want to see, that we want to be proud of as a community. One of the things, I think the main obstacles has been our circuit court judges. I hate to say it, but it's a fact. They've made clear, our circuit court judges have made it clear that they are willing to go really above and beyond what other judges are willing to do to stand in the way of reform. One of the ways they've done that is they're rejecting all kinds of plea deals. I actually have done and we're talking pretty normal stuff that would have flown through under the prior regime. Our current circuit court judges, I would say, are rejecting or taking under advisement 30 to 40% of plea offers that are presented to them. Whereas I did a data project with some interns last summer. We analyzed one of the most recent non-pandemic years, pre-pandemic years, where we had complete data. I think it was 2017 that we analyzed, and the circuit court judges didn't reject a single plea offer all year. Like that was 600 or other dispositions, not one out of like 500 or 600 cases we looked at, not a single one. Just this year, I bet there's been 50, that have been rejected. And how can you really, when the presumption of this progressive prosecution movement was, oh, we have discretion. When the circuit court doesn't let you exercise your discretion, it's really hard to follow through on the promise that you've made. This is also true of dismissals of cases. So one that got in the news a lot, and I mentioned a little earlier, was dismissals of drug possession cases, like pot possession cases in particular. They stood in the way of that. They wouldn't do it. Again, it was mooted because of legislative action. But even after the legislature actually changed the law on dropping cases, and this is non-drug cases, but even after the legislature changed the law and said, no, prosecutors have the discretion to drop a case if they want, our judges still found a way to say, no, you still have to provide us a good excuse. And basically the excuse now, or the explanation they want to be provided, is that the prosecutor isn't engaged in bribery. And no, I'm not joking, because that's what the statute says. It says the only time that a judge can stand in the way of dropping a case is if there's proof that the prosecutor has engaged in bribery. And so some of our judges are saying, no, you have to tell me good cause, explain to me why you haven't bribed anyone. And it's often you're just banging your head against the wall. You can't believe some of the things that are going on. And honestly, as groups of advocates or volunteers, if you're looking to make a difference, if the NAACP wants to get involved in this, we really need a court watch in Arlington, because that's a narrative that just isn't being shared with the general public about what's really going on in the courtrooms and why things aren't going necessarily as we had hoped they would. Beyond that, we also have magistrates in Arlington who make the initial charging decisions. Our magistrates are really carceral in their approach. They're the ones who make initial bond decisions, bail decisions. I would guess probably 80% of the bail decisions they make. Let me see here. 80% of the decisions they make are usually eventually overturned by a GDC judge or a circuit court judge. We also have really inadequate treatment services in Arlington, which is crazy considering our budget's over $100 million for the DHS, but we don't have something as simple as a long-term residential substance abuse treatment program in Arlington. The only long-term residential substance abuse treatment program is in the jail. So if you need long-term residential substance abuse treatment, you go to the jail, like you get put in jail. It's wild, but it's true. In addition, we have this program that offers holistic or wraparound services for people with serious mental illness called the Reentry Programming Unit. But as you all know, we have 250,000 residents in Arlington. There are only 6 beds in this program, six for the whole county. It's just, we could fill 30 beds at any given time, and we've only got 6. And lastly, another one I think that I wanted to touch on in terms of obstacles reform is, and this is, just being really honest, it's our police department. They've done very, very little to facilitate reform. I know that Chief Penn expresses support for some of the initiatives like mental health crisis response. I take him at his word, he wants that to happen, but you have an entire department of people that aren't following that lead. And I think you even have, there's a suggestion that there are even active efforts to subvert reform by some of them. And you see that in some of their public statements. So, this is, yes. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and finish your sentence there, and then we're gonna, with the 10 minutes left, go ahead. I'll jump in.
Yeah, so that was pretty much everything I had to share as an overview.
Yeah.
I would just note that if you want more information about this, I actually wrote an article. It's called Busting the Myth in a publication called Inquest. It's about some of the shortcomings of progressive prosecution and, a lot of things that I've already said. But it touches on some other things and that are including some Arlington specific information. But yeah, that's a kind of a quick overview of what we got going on.
Well, thank you, Brad, for that quick overview. And I know 30 minutes, an hour is probably not going to be enough time to talk about the exhaustive issues as it relates to the public safety, police reform, law. It's a lot. But what we did is, in an effort to be transparent, we did ask those that were registering for this meeting to, we solicited questions, right? We have 9 here. They have not been adjusted or anything. These are the questions that have come in. And you can just pick away where you would like. This is not a test, but where do you feel comfortable? What can you lean in on in the next 8 minutes or so, as far as these questions that have come from our members and those that are on the call? You want to start with number 1? I think that's important.
Yeah, sure. I can get through these quickly. So pay parity, as many of you know, public defenders make a lot less than Commonwealth attorneys. Most of the pay disparities in Virginia are the result of local salary supplements. So in Arlington, I think Prissa makes about $70,000 more than I do. She has 6 people in her office that make more than 7 people in her office that make more than my chief deputy, Allie Carpenter, who a lot of you know is an amazing lawyer who deserves to be paid just as much as them. So those are mostly local, they're locally created disparities. Bills have been proposed the past several years in the General Assembly to require pay parity. I don't think those are going anywhere. So the best way to get pay parity actually is through local advocacy. So our county board has been supportive, but they've got a ways to go to get us to true parity. We're going to be making a hard push for that in the upcoming budget cycle. So hopefully we'll get closer than we are currently.
Sure.
There's a question about wrongful convictions due to attorney-client relationship failures. I actually, when I was in private practice, I did a lot of post-conviction work related to ineffective assistance of counsel. The challenge in proving IAC, a lot of that, unfortunately, is due to federal law, and particularly it's called EDPA, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for right now, but it's made it exceptionally difficult to establish that someone should get a new trial because they had an ineffective lawyer. Essentially, you have to prove that, but for the mistake, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you would have been acquitted. It's extraordinarily difficult, and almost no one ever wins ineffective assistance claims. Let's see here. Yeah, so 3, again, I kind of touched on this, but this is, so when people talk, I mentioned this whole defunding thing before, The thing that's aggravating about that, it was a term that was chosen by activists at a time when nobody was paying attention to criminal justice reform. They wanted to grab people's attention, but then activists didn't pivot quickly enough to adopt messaging that actually works. I never say that term, but I know what it means, and what it means is actually uncontroversial, which is that we should stop relying on police and prisons as much to solve social problems. But the fact is, right now, we are relying on police and prisons to solve social problems. So if we are going to solve those social problems in a different way, we have to have different services. So the kinds of services that currently are being provided in police and prisons, and we lack a lot of those in Arlington. And there is an obstinance right now towards making that shift. I mean, it's in our government, in our county government right now. And there needs to be a greater commitment to truly focusing on things like substance abuse treatment and mental health responders, emergency crisis response, things of that nature. The release date thing, I am unable to do that, unfortunately, but I can refer you to post-conviction counsel who might be able to help you with that. The criticism of Soros prosecutors, no, I don't think it's warranted. I talked about that data project that I did, and read this article that I wrote because it covers this more. But like, we called 35 jurisdictions that had elected progressive prosecutors. We called the public defenders. We asked them sort of an unrelated question. We actually about plea agreements and whether judges were rejecting them. And they all were like, oh, I'm happy to answer your question, but like, actually our progressive prosecutor isn't progressive. And the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, a lot of these people who held themselves out as progressives just haven't changed much. So I think that's the one thing, the truth that never gets out is that the changes have been really minimal. And actually, if you want to crunch the numbers on this, compared to like tough on crime prosecutors, crime rates are rising higher in rising more quickly in jurisdictions with tough on crime prosecutors than people that hold themselves out as reformers. So that whole narrative is really twisted.
We'll do one more. Just choose one
Yeah,
more.
sure. Oh, let's see here.
What are your thoughts on VA not having stand your ground law?
So we have a castle doctrine, but it's not like Florida's stand your ground law. But some of you may have followed that there was a trial. The defendant's name was Hamza Abu Shariah. It was the smoke shop down in the valley, and it was a self-defense case. I was co-counsel in that case with one of my assistants, Robert Marshall. And actually, our defense was we were attempting to use more of a castle doctrine defense. We weren't allowed to. So actually, we don't totally have that in Virginia. I think stand your ground laws are a bad idea, and like it. But it's tricky, because you get into stuff like gun laws, and everybody's advocating for stricter gun laws. But who experiences the effects of aggressive gun law prosecutions? It's Black Americans mostly.
Yeah,
you've got to there really has to be a lot more thought put into that, and restrictions on gun ownership. It has to be a thoughtful approach that doesn't result in like boosting mass incarceration.
I do want to open it up for anyone who, good night, Jennifer. I know you need to sign out. Thanks for attending as always. Is there anyone who may have a question? We have about 2 minutes that want to come off the mic and unmute themselves and ask Brad directly a question. I know he's prepared for it. Anyone? Let's be diplomatic in our questioning.
Yeah, I have a question, JD.
Yes. Is this to Brad? Go ahead.
Yes. Hey, Brad, is there any way we can push for the police to, meet with the progressive reforms either through the oversight board or the county board?
Honestly, JD is better positioned to answer this question than I am, because he's the one, your chapter obviously has been the one pushing these issues the most. We don't have leverage I don't have leverage with the people who need to be listening. And I think the people who need to be listening are the county board and the county manager, because they don't push the chief of police much. Like there was that whole hiring process and just defaulting to the second in command, without, while there were other qualified minority candidates, for example, it just doesn't seem like I don't know why, but it feels like county leadership isn't always listening on that point. And I think the pressure needs to be put on them. It's like, if you want real reform in this county, you need to pressure the police department to get on board with it, because they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that just by people, in the community complaining about it. They're not going to do it until the people who cuts their checks, pays their budget, turns the screws on them. And so I think that's what needs to take place fundamentally.
Brad, thank you for your answer. And Bryant, thank you for your question. I will add to that as far as the NAACP goes, we not only try to meet people where they are, but we try to have, we have had conversations with all aforementioned individuals, parties, whether it be the chief of police, the county board, elected officials, and looking at ways that, we can move the needle, Brad and Bryant. And though we may not, always come to agreement, we know that there's more work that needs to be done. And I think we've been mindful of our approach, but also been tactful, because I feel there's no room, for us to really keep, we agitate and get in good trouble, but there's only so far you can go to that, because we, in leadership, right, you also got to practice a little bit of empathy, but you have to be forceful. And we got it, Brad. We got it, Brian. And I think we've been successful on many fronts. Let's just say we can agree that there's more work to do, right? So with that being said, kudos to you, Brad. Kudos for coming out tonight. I know you've met with our Criminal Justice Committee and before this a few weeks back. We thank you for your leadership. Pay parity, pay equity is something that it needs to be addressed. I totally get it there, because you play a critical and very important role in our legal system. Your office does. So thank you. No questions, I believe. And let's give, we're in the virtual space. Who all knows about this? We got to give them a virtual hand clap. All right, there we go. Thank you, Brad. Get you a spotlight before this here. All right, before we move into the next part, the latter portion of, and please drop that link, Brad. I'm not sure if he's gone, but you can drop that link to your article in the chat during this meeting. I do want to recognize real briefly a few elected officials that we have with us tonight. Many of them have been committed supporters to the NAACP, and I think the Commonwealth attorneys here somewhere, but I do want to thank State Senator Barbara Favola, County Board Member Matt DeFerranti, and our Commonwealth Attorney Parissa Dagani-Tofty. They're all on Spotlight. Thank you. Again, thank you, Brad. We all got to work in this thing together, we call it, because people are counting on us, and thank each and every one of you for being here with the NAACP. So off goes the spotlight and back to the agenda we go. Now, and well, State Senator Favola, do you have anything to say?
I will just say that Brad's doing a wonderful job in advocating for criminal justice reform with the lawmakers in Richmond. It's a battle. We've got some lawmakers in swing districts, and they're always weighing the political impact of their votes. So let's just say we need to play defense now, and we need to do a better job of playing the defense game. And we need to watch our elections, and we need to get involved. If you care about criminal justice reform, then you're going to have to really vote in 2023 in a very big way. So that's a message I know you take it to heart. You've worked yourself, Julius, and helping us turn out the vote. Everybody on this call is pretty aware of, the stakes, and we appreciate that, but we really do need to pay attention to our elections.
Great. I will do the same to County Board Member Matt DeFerranti. 30 seconds. Anything you would like to say to our group tonight?
Sure. Thanks, JD, and thanks for the chance to be with you. Just succinctly, I do support pay equity. We, on all of Brad's last year requests, we approved, but he is right. He needs to come back to us with a stronger ask to close that gap between the two next year. And I have been supportive and will be supportive of that. There are other steps. To Bryant, your question, I do think it's important. We have stood up. We have a police independent auditor who's doing a good job. We also have our oversight board. That is a good venue. They are meeting tomorrow night. But there's much more work to do. Thank you, JD, for the chance to just offer a couple of thoughts.
Yeah.
I know I will also come before you next month in a debate. So those are a couple.
The form. Thank you. And Commonwealth Attorney, any words, comments?
I would just love to put a point on the message that both you and Brad had. I thought that working together to really face the challenges that we have with the incorrect and misleading messaging and the fear tactics and the fact that the pendulum is swinging in the opposite direction so quickly. We really only had months and not years. I think joining forces and working together and supporting each other is really key in this.
Thank you. Thank each and every one of you for your leadership and what you've continued to do. And I say this to Brad and everyone on this call, anyone that knows me. Trust and believe. We at the NAACP, we don't always meet our elected leaders where they are for a number of reasons. We may not align, right? But something I tell folks, there's something about persuasive conversation and getting kneecap to kneecap, and sometimes just having a conversation about the issues and being sincere and genuine about it, and not making it a personal issue, even though you may have some personal aspects of the issue that affect you or have affected you. The bigger picture is, we're trying to protect our community and make this place, Arlington, better off tomorrow than it is today. Not to say it's bad today, but we're trying to move that needle. And thank you, members of the NAACP. We talked about voting. You're going to hear from our political action committee. We're nonpartisan, though we are heavily Democratic Party here. We're open to anybody. But at the end of the day, our marching orders is to get everyone to the poll. So I don't care what side of the aisle you on, go to the poll and go vote. This historically has been one of the years that we don't see a lot of movement, but I'll tell you what, we heard about fear mongering, we've heard about the extremism, and it's not too far from Arlington, y'all. Someone would say it's right here in Arlington. So get out the vote, yes. And let's be prepared to go out on November 8th and beyond, and be prepared to protect what we've earned, right? Protect what we've earned here in Arlington, and don't let anyone sway us away from that. Because if you see what's going on in Richmond, that's a tell-all right there about what they're trying to do. And I use they, because there's a lot of them. And we at the NAACP, I was on the exec committee this weekend at a meeting. We're not going to tolerate it. The NAACP is not going to tolerate it, and I'm not going to tolerate it as a citizen, and I'm not going to tolerate it as the president of the NAACP. So we need your support. All right, we need your support. And again, thank you, Brad. Let's go to our agenda. We're going to get through this because we love this aspect, this part of our agenda, because we're going to lift up our small business. And this month we have our Economic Development Chair, Megan Brew. Are you ready, Madam Chair?
Let's do it, JD.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. I don't see you.
I'm right here.
Oh, here we go.
Here I am. Hey, y'all.
Spotlight.
Thanks so much to everybody for being online tonight. Really appreciate all of the words of wisdom we have heard. I am excited to share 2 small business spotlights. So we have one from August when we were out on summer vacation, and one has already kicked off for September. So first, I want to highlight Pentagon MMA. So this gym focuses on a variety of different martial arts. We have jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, or Thai boxing. And so there are a variety of adult classes, kids classes, camps that you can take advantage of. Great exercise and opportunity to work out. So this highlight went out via email in August and is also listed on our website. Additionally, earlier this month, we were able to highlight YM Bird Art. This is a photography and mixed media organization. Yvette Bird is one of our NAACP members, so extra special for this one. She started her photography career at church, taking pictures of baptisms, events, whatnot, and has now turned that into a professional passion where she takes everything from headshots, events, nature photography, landscapes, and again has started building out that mixed media artwork as well. So you can find more about her on her website, and her contact information again was listed in the email sent out earlier this month. And the last thing I will mention
Hey,
is
Megan.
Yep.
I don't want to be rude, but I know this is your moment. I just saw Yvette put something in the chat. Where you at, Yvette?
Oh yeah, Yvette, if you're on, absolutely. Anything you want to share?
Where you at, Yvette?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. I can't show, for some reason, my video's not working.
It's okay.
But I'm here.
All right, but go ahead. We're lifting you up. We're gonna give you 30 seconds. I know Madam Chair did you due diligence, did good justice here, but go ahead. You got anything you want to tell the 60 some odd folks that are still with us?
Thank you, Megan. Number one, thank you so much. Thank you all. Yes, I've been a photographer for over 10 years. I am looking forward to grow in the DMV area. And as Megan indicated, events, headshots, portraits, I can do it for you. I'm looking forward to growing my business and to being an asset to the DMV area.
Thank you, Yvette.
Thank you.
Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Yay, thanks so much. That was really special. So glad you were on. The last thing I do want to mention is it is officially Hispanic Heritage Month. It runs from September 15th through October 15th. So for the next couple of weeks, we will focus on highlighting Hispanic business owners of color in Arlington. So be on the lookout for those emails highlighting some of our Hispanic business owners in the community over the next month.
All right. Well, let's give our chair, Megan Brewer, a round of applause, virtual hand clap. She's been doing amazing work, she and the team, the past year and a half, 2 years on this lifting up our small businesses and working hand in hand also with, Arlington the Chamber. Yeah, I'm going somewhere else, but the Chamber of Commerce, and we have moved the needle there a little bit. So thank you, Megan, for your leadership and all that you do. Greatly appreciate it. Okay.
Thanks, y'all.
You're welcome. All right, we're going to turn next to our religious affairs led by Pastor Delisha Davis and Sister Rosa Dunkley.
Good
Reverend.
evening.
Oh,
Yes, I am
you
here.
still on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Where's she at?
Go
But
ahead.
your picture looks better, so we'll use
No.
yours.
Go ahead.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're so grateful to be able to make a report today. We have taken a break during the summer. Religious Affairs did not meet for 2 months during the summer, but we have continued our conversations with the faith communities, as well as we sent a monthly update to 43 faith communities in Arlington. Right now, we're working with 5 churches to set up voter registration drives this fall to make sure everybody is ready to vote, and providing information as the date gets closer in with that. We do invite anyone who is an active member of the NAACP, our branch, to be a part of the Religious Affairs Committee. We meet every second Tuesday by Zoom at 5:30 p.m. for 1 hour. And so we do welcome you to come. So far this year, we have been able to help with 6 voter registration drives, and there is one that is taking place Mount Olivet, Callaway, and Rock Spring on October the 11th and 12th at Apartment Community in Arlington. And if you're interested in joining in, please let us know. But so far this year, we have been able to register 93 people in Arlington, and we're hoping for many more. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this branch.
All right. Sister Dunkley, anything you want to say with your nice hairdo tonight?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
On Saturday, I was down in the Green Valley and I met Detta, who was getting people to register to vote. So we're still pushing the people down in the valley because there's still a lot of them that haven't registered. So I'm focusing down there also.
Thank you, both of you. You know, I'm not going to get into the spiritual as all of this, but you know, all my faith comes from the Lord. I'm going to leave it at that. And I know without faith and guidance, I don't know where I would be. But he leads me, Pastor Davis, and he guides me along the way. All right. Amen. Yes, AMEs. All right, we're going to go to our Environmental and Climate Justice Committee.
I believe she had to drop off early.
Okay, is Ron with us? If not, we'll skip. We'll pass over that until next time it's sent. But they should have a copy of the report that was sent to everyone, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Well, let's move over to our Political Action Committee. That'll put us right on time with Jamie, and I think Megan is out on vacation. Hi, Jamie.
Right. Hello, it's good to see you. Just 2 updates from the Political Action Committee. We are working to plan an upcoming county candidate forum that will be held at our general membership meeting in October. So I hope you'll all register to return in October. It's October 17th, the 3rd Monday in October. And our general membership meeting, the official business will take place between 7 and 7:30. And then the remainder of the time you would ordinarily be attending a larger general membership meeting will be focused on this county candidate forum. So from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, we're going to split the time in half. The first half of the program will be devoted to our 3 candidates running for county board. And the second half will be devoted to our 2 candidates running for our school board. We're really excited to have moderators for each session from our talented executive committee. We're really excited to have Jan Marie Pena from our Political Action Committee emceeing the event. And we're working hard to put that together. That's a structured dialogue, so not open Q&A, but we really focus on drawing upon the NAACP's mission statement and the work that's happening in our committees to ask questions of all of our candidates to get a sense of how their vision and their platform aligns with our branch priorities and mission. So we'll be structuring that dialogue and working with the committee chairs to get those questions poised around the most important issues of our upcoming season. The next part, there was already a mention of Detta, and I'm glad Rosa gave a shout out to her. If you all haven't seen Detta Kissel in action as a voter registration champion, you are missing a sight to be seen. Detta is absolutely spearheading a voter registration effort like I have never seen before. She has personally coordinated efforts to get our branch into 26 affordable housing complexes and to have knocked on 3,000 doors. And Detta is printing her own materials at home, getting out the word on early voting, talking to voters. And if you've ever seen Detta in action, it's not just registration, but it's also civic engagement, which is the core bread and butter of what the Political Action Committee should be doing in a nonpartisan way. So focusing, making sure people know why voting matters and getting out to vote. So she has spearheaded an extraordinary effort. She organized our participation at Green Valley Day on Saturday. And so the Political Action Committee is distinctly grateful to her for organizing, and we are always looking for volunteers on that front. And then the last announcement would just be early voting. Again, we're nonpartisan, but we promote civic engagement and political participation, and early voting begins on Friday. So I would encourage everyone to get out and vote, but also you can wait until our candidate forum. Yeah, early voting continues until November 5th. So our candidate forum is on October 17th. The Political Action Committee meets on the we meet on the first Sunday of the month, but we've been off a little bit lately. The first Monday of the month, first Monday of the month at 6:30, from 6:30 to 7:30. We warmly welcome any new members. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, for such a thorough report. And thank you, Mike Shea, for your comments. I'm sure our Political Action Committee is looking at that. And thank you again, Detta, she was on earlier, an entire political action committee for showing up and showing out at the Green Valley Community Day. I was down there for probably 30 minutes. I went to the table, saw Detta and someone else, and someone walked by and I said, "Are you registered to vote?" He was like, "No." I said, "Well, register." And it was just like he did it. We are making an impact along with our with League of Women Voters and many others in this area. And again, like you said, Jamie, we're just doing the business of the NAACP, nonpartisan, getting people registered and encouraging them to get out and exercise their constitutional right. So thank you. Any questions for Jamie? I think we're good. We want everyone to come out next month for our candidate forum. If you've attended the couple in the past 2 years, they've been probably some of the best, I would say. And trust me, we will not spend the first 30 minutes talking about missing middle housing. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jamie.
Just one comment in response to Michael's comment in the chat. The reason we're not doing our congressional delegation again is because we did already do a forum with them in the spring, and we heard from both of the candidates who are on the ballot at that point. So we don't ignore our federal candidates. We give them appropriate attention, but we felt like we had already covered them and that folks would really want to hear from our county and school board delegates at this point.
We sure enough did. Thank you, Jamie. All right, let's go on. We're way ahead of schedule. That's a good thing. As you can see, a month off, what it does for our members and our chairs, they're full of energy and they're just going at it. So maybe we should need to start taking every other month off. No, I don't think so. They would, somebody would national fire me. They're coming to get me. All right, we're going to spend probably 10 minutes till 8:30 with our housing committee because Kellen is out tonight. He had an engagement, our chair, but we have our vice chair here tonight to talk about housing. Brian Coleman, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a doozy with this one. There's quite a bit that happened over the last few months, so bear with me. I'm going to try to catch all of the points here, but keep it as succinct as possible. So we've met with both the fair housing groups with Serrano and the Barcroft Apartments back in early August. Actually, we met with Mitchell a handful of times, speaking to him about voice, as well as issues related to 30% AMI proposals, as his group has been really working very hard on trying to push the county to do more with securing a percentage of their dedicated housing for those underneath 30% AMI over the next few years. We've also spoken with multiple tenant advocacy and collaboration groups, UGATA, ACE Collaborative, Voice, Juntos en Justicia, over Barcroft Apartments as well. Moving on to Serrano Apartments, a joint subcommittee on the status of aging properties Serrano report was recently released that we've gone over and are currently forming a statement of support on. We also have talked about our legislative agenda items for next year's legislative session in the state assembly. And we've narrowed it down to just 3 because we want to be able to dedicate enough effort and resources to pushing as strongly as we can on these priorities, as well as dedicating our resources to things that we feel confident have a chance in the General Assembly. Them being first, pushing on the Affirmatively Fair Housing or AFFH grant program. Also, we'd like to do more with local enforcement of tenant rights and protections, as well as hopefully getting a bill to expand uniform statewide building code to include things like mold. So we are in current conversation with Department of Housing here in Virginia. We've been doing routine talks actually as part of the Youngkin administration's efforts to reach out to local groups regarding housing. So there was a general forum for Northern Virginia at the end of July. It was last week of July that I attended as well as a follow-up that occurred in the third week of August. So moving forward, I believe there's going to be another meeting that they'll be holding, I think the second week of October. So Helen and I will also be attending that one, as well as the administration tries to formulate a policy. We also spoke recently to Professor Janine DeWitt, who is a professor working at George Mason University, and she has a current study detailing mapping exclusion in Arlington regarding restrictive covenants. And so we had a really good conversation with her this past Thursday, and we hope to be included in further conversation there because we are really interested in her research and what that would mean for the NAACP and a potential event that we could hold with her once her research is farther along. Trying to do this, and I believe, yes, of course, trying to save the best for last before I get the missing middle. We also have been working Virginia Housing Stability Fund Work Group, which is another one of these initiatives that the Youngkin administration has put together, where we talked about how we can better reform the Section 8 grant program. And it was very insightful. There was an individual who lives in Fredericksburg who we had on to speak to us in his experience in using the Section 8 program. And what really stood out to both Kellen and I was the need for additional care workers who can help with caseload, because in his experience, the caseworkers are fantastic and do an excellent job at trying to help those that they're responsible for be able to access these housing programs, which for those who are familiar with the programs, be very difficult to navigate. The problem is that there's just so many individuals to be helped, and it's nearly impossible when one individual may be responsible for 30 different cases. So that is one of the overriding areas that could be improved on that. And we look forward to speaking with the working group moving forward for a secondary meeting. Hopefully that will take place in early November. And lastly, there's the missing middle study, of course, and everyone's already heard about it. It's seemingly the only thing anyone talks about. So if you aren't yet engaged, really would appreciate having you come to our housing committee meetings. We discuss our stance on missing middle. They're more in depth, but to just cover more of what we can do moving forward. There are currently a series of talks that the county is holding where people can engage in the process and learn more. And it's really a Q&A session that occurs over the next couple of weeks. Now, one would have had to register to participate, but we have heard from various members of the county board that they would really like to have people come if possible. So even if you haven't registered, please try to reach out to the county board and hopefully you will still be able to attend. I think it's a great thing that we at least have people be able to hear about this process as well as be engaged, because it is important that multiple perspectives are being offered in these meetings. I try to attend county board meetings in addition to these, and what can happen oftentimes is you have a preponderance of one voice at these meetings who can be fairly vociferous in their opposition to missing middle. And so I think it's extremely important for the branch, not just the housing committee, but for the branch as a whole, to show their support for this and try to get engaged at whatever level they can. So if you would like, they still have openings on these county board Q&A sessions. And of course, the county board meetings happen every weekend. So if you would take the time to please attend, and as well as just reach out to Kellen and I, it would really be appreciative for us moving forward with this, just so we can maintain the level of support we have. And I think that is all I have. Yeah. Oh, and make sure if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me or Kellen on the Housing Committee, and we'd love to just have more people on board to work with us, because Lord knows we will need more hands moving forward. Thank you.
So Brian, thank you on a very a thorough report as well. And let's give Brian a virtual hand clap, everybody. So yeah, missing middle is the conversation of probably the conversation of this decade here in Arlington. And there's serious ramifications, I think, what a lot of people are saying, if you go for and against, right? I think at the end of the day, our leadership has a decision to make, that one that is wherever way that they go, some folks aren't going to be happy. That's the reality, Brian. That's the reality, members on this call. It's tough, but that's why you're leaders. You know, leaders aren't elected to sit idly by. Everything's not going to be easy. We don't expect it to be easy. They're there to solve complex problems. And this, though many will argue, is very complex, and people have chosen their respective lanes, whether it's walkability, tree canopy, you know, you name it, stormwater, what's going to happen. You know, I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of folks, and this conversation doesn't resonate too much, but at the NAACP, I'm very mindful of it. The uncertainty of knowing who's going to live to your left and right is what drives a lot of people crazy, right? And that runs deep, right? And to have that conversation, that courageous conversation, and to keep it honest, right? It's sometimes hard, but we're going to remain vigilant as an organization, because our bylaws, this is not JD, this is not Brian, this is not Kellen, Mike, or anyone on the executive committee. Our bylaws informs and tells us, directs us that we will to oppose any restrictive practice as it relates to housing. And, you know, you have to go back and look at how we got to where we are today in exclusionary zoning in its most simplest of forms. And how do we start to chip away and remove those barriers, right? Whereby we can really have a thriving community and you can live anywhere you would like, regardless of race, color, creed, religion. Because what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is really not the Arlington of 2009 when I moved here, where, you know, our mission and what we say is that we're inclusive, diverse, welcoming, and warm community. I'm seeing folks that I thought were true allies in the battle now wavering and wondering, well, hey, what say you to a, you know, what's going to happen next door? They're going to put a 7-Eleven or a Dairy Queen or a duplex, and who's going to go there? Arlington continues to get this influx of individuals coming in, where we have development coming up all around us, whether it's the Pike, whether it's Langston Boulevard. Developers are here, they're building 1-bedrooms and studios, right, Brian? Yet those are not for families. That's building upon a transient neighborhood, my friend, right? There's people that want to come and live here. My kids who are 29, 27, and 24 respectively. And many of you on this call who have kids probably about my age, most of them when they get out of college can't afford to come back to Arlington and buy a home. Many of them don't want a single family home. Some of them may just want a 1,000 square foot type house that they can say that's theirs. They don't want a yard. They don't want all that maintenance, right? So that's just one aspect of it. And I know there's some analysis that has not been done as it relates to whether it's 8, 6 type housings. We haven't shared that with the public. The public doesn't know. Is it going to be more cost effective? Is it going to be affordable? There's so much uncertainty. But I much rather deal with housing and that animal, right? We call it that piece, than deal with what's going on in Richmond. Back to that. That's a conversation we had earlier, right? So we can't come together to solve this problem. I believe, and whenever it happens, that we can divide our county more so than it is today. And that's not going to be healthy. All right. So we'll continue to fight along with our allies that have made it a note of their support of Missing Middle. Where that ends up at, it's in the hands of the county board. But I hope they will make a decision that's in the best interest of those individuals, something you referenced earlier, Brian, those individuals and those families who aren't well connected, who aren't there to come out and meet and talk and have extended conversations at these sessions. Because we know this already, right? That they're not there. I looked at the county board meeting online this weekend. I just looked at it from YouTube. There was nobody, it didn't seem that way. But those are the folks, right, that are keeping our community, whether it's essential workers or the people that are cleaning up houses or people who are holding up signs at the school bus, or, you know, it's those folks that keep us who we are. And then if we drive them out, because that's what's happening, then what are we going to become? A Beverly Hills 90210? Some people want that. Thank you for your report, Brian. Are there any questions for the Housing Committee from people who are still on the call?
Oh, and I just want to make one correction. So I misspoke earlier. I kind of blanked out for whatever reason. So the county board meetings are, of course, monthly, not weekly. I just, whatever is said weekly, but they're monthly.
I don't think anybody clarified that. Any questions for no one? Okay. Brian, thank you for your report. And like Brian said, you got the virtual hand clap. Please, if you're on this call and you're what we may call by statistically in the minority, as it based on population or ethnicity, and you can, and you support Missing Middle, or you want to be heard, please engage with our elected officials. Please send them an email. Your voice matters just as much as my voice. And I consider myself now, hasn't always been, a well-off person who got to this place from a lot of hard work. And it's only because I'm living the American dream. But everyone's not like that. Everyone hasn't been given that opportunity. And it's deeper than housing, y'all. It's also, we talked about economic development. It's about job opportunities, right? If you don't have job opportunities in this community, you can't make the money that's necessary to live, then you can't go out and buy a house. Right? You can't, and I work in corporate America in a place where we look at, and I'm getting on this whole, but I can tell you right now, we talk about pay disparities. There's hiring disparities as well when it comes to women, people of color in the workforce. All right. Remarks by first VP, second VP, third VP. First VP, are you still with us?
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. I got two quick remarks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My first one, as I was sitting there listening to today's meeting, I just want to give a huge shout out to all the committee chairs, all the committees that have been working long and hard this year. We've done I think a tremendous job this year of being able to get out experts in their field and on these important, hot topics that we've been involved in. So, and I think it's, impacted our membership greatly to be able to have those experts come in and share their opinions, share the truth and some facts, and just help us make more informed decisions as a branch. So just very thankful and grateful that we've been able to do that this year. And my second thought that I had here tonight was, we've been in a unique position as a branch and as leaders to be able to be involved in these important, thoughtful discussions that have been taking place in the county. So I don't take that for granted. We've been able to have numerous and just so many meetings and Zoom meetings and with all of our leaders and been able to share input and help make informed decisions and also collaborate with other organizations and be able to come together and just try to solve these difficult decisions, which, I think we've made a lot of work this year, and I'm just thankful that we've been able to do that. So that's my 2 points. I appreciate everyone and thanks everyone for attending tonight.
Thank you for your leadership, Mr. First VP. And let's give him a little virtual hand clap. Thank you, sir. I think our second VP had to break away earlier, and we're going to go over to our third VP, Michael Hemminger. And Mr. Kashawn Clark, if you stick around, I may want to introduce someone later on, Kashawn Clark, but go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Actually, First VP actually took my sentiments right out of what I wanted to say. And so I just wanted to, kind of express my thanks and gratitude to committee chairs and the members of this branch. As I reflect on these last 2 years, it's really clear to me that we've made a meaningful difference in the lives of thousands of our neighbors. And so when I lay my head down at night, that's something I'm really proud of. And I hope that the members on this call tonight, I hope that you're proud, because it's been all of us together really pushing forward. It's been an incredible 2 years, and to watch how the branch has really transformed, it's been really inspiring. So if you know me, I love a good quote. So I want to give everyone a quote as well. It's from John Lewis, and it's do not get lost in a sea of despair. Do not become bitter or hostile. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Never, ever, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. We will find a way and make a way out of no way. And that's what we've done these last 2 years. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And thank you, Mike. You were way ahead of schedule, and we're going to get you out of here, but there is someone with us tonight, and I'm going to bring her up and spotlight Ms. Kashawn. She's shaking her head. Ms. Kashawn Clark, who is not on the agenda, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because first impression is last impression. So go ahead, Kashawn. The floor is yours.
Thank you, JD. I am so happy to be here. I'm a new member of this chapter. I'm a vice president for National Capital Bank on Wilson Boulevard. So we've been in the area for 4.5 years. So I'm just excited to jump in and be a part of this great organization. And I won't take up any more time. I'm looking forward to meeting everyone.
All right. Ms. Clark, I want to put a face with a name, y'all, because you will be hearing more from Ms. Clark and National Capital Bank, hopefully here in the coming months. We are all about building collaborations and partnerships here at the NAACP, because the members of this team, those that have been on the committee, who've been on the committees before, it takes a toll on all of us. Right? It takes a toll on all of us, because this is volunteer. And sometimes we get a little, it may feel a little personal from each other back and forth. But I tell folks, as long as you put the NAACP first, because none of us are getting paid, you will win every day. And let's try to build upon being transparent and being accountable to our people. And I'll close as I started. It's been a long 10 years. But I'm not going anywhere, because the NAACP, I started this thing probably before some folks on this call came into this world, and that was 1988 in South Carolina. And my mom and dad took me to a place called Cherry Hill Baptist Church. I didn't know what was going on, but he said, get your butt up, me and my other two brothers, and you go into the NAACP meeting. And though I went in the military and was all over the place, my heart always stayed firm with the NAACP, because it meant something. And they have a track record. When no one else can get to the table, the NAACP does. But when you get to the table, you got to be able to shape a message on behalf of the institution and your people. And you can't make it personal. The minute you do that, you're going to lose. Put the institution first. And we're going to continue to fight. We're way ahead of schedule. Are there any questions for me before I close out the meeting 15 minutes early? Thank you all for attending. Any questions? There being none, Madam Secretary, please stick around. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.